Hello, my name is Tony Knight. I would like to welcome you to first video in a 6-part series designed to share information for individuals in early recovery from an alcohol use or a substance abuse problem or issue. I am a licensed occupational therapist, and I've also worked with individuals in recovery, both professionally and non-professionally, for over 19 years. And I'm also in recovery, and I'll speak to that briefly. And today I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Eric Cunningham, who's a licensed substance abuse counselor and who has worked in both inpatient and outpatient facilities for over 10 years. So, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. So today we wanted to have a brief conversation about symptoms and treatment options for individuals that may or may not have an alcohol use problem or a substance abuse problem. And many of the references that we'll use today are listed on the board behind us, and I'll also post on the blog as well. And so let's just get right into it. Some different symptoms or behaviors that folks might identify with as far as alcohol use problems or substance abuse problems. In your experience, what would you find?
Yeah, so basically, when we think of a substance use disorder, and we can, come up with many different drugs of choice, probably the most prevalent that we often think of is alcohol, okay? But a problematic pattern of substance use, okay, that leads to significant clinical impairment or stress, okay, as identified by 2 out of 11 symptoms, okay? So that's the working definition of a substance use disorder. Now, the actual symptoms, okay, can be manifested in a lot of different ways, okay? And some of those common factors, could be the person typically drinks more than intended. The person intends on having 1 or 2 drinks, and before the night is over with, often drinks more on recurrent occasions, and typically leads to lifestyle problems, preoccupation, loss of enjoyable leisure activities because the drug of choice becomes more important.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the 11 criteria. The 11 criteria are outlined in the DSM-5, correct?
That's correct.
And so the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, under the National Institute of Health, they have resources on there that you can access, and they can articulate those different 11 areas. And so I would encourage folks, if you are suspicious that maybe you might have a problem, if you look at those different areas, and there's even a screening tool on there that you can take, and to give yourself some more information about your use, if it may or may not be a problem. Because one of the things that I've experienced over the years is that you don't have to, they talk a lot about hitting your bottom. You don't have to suffer excessive damage in your life before quitting alcohol and drugs. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people do, but you can get off of the elevator, so to speak, at any level. And so if you're at the early stages of drug and alcohol problems, you can still seek help. And in my experience, those folks tend to fare a little bit better than those who wait and suffer a lot of consequences. So those criteria are helpful because you may fit 1 or 2 of those criteria of the 11 and still decide to get some help. And then some of the behaviors. So the criteria are pretty specific to like cravings and not being able to stop when you want to stop and things like that. And so as far as like lifestyle issues that I know that I experienced and have witnessed other people's experience have experienced over the years, is that alcohol and drugs tend to affect your life in a number of different ways. It affected my work life. It affected my ability to be honest and disciplined at work, and to be on time for work and so forth, get along with my coworkers. It affected my relationships with my families and my partners and so forth. And it affected my finances, and hence the 6-part series that we're engaged in. One of those is money management. So all of the different 6 areas that are articulated on the blog, they're all areas that I felt were important in the early stages of recovery. I mean, let's face it, they're important in life in general, managing our money and engaging in healthy leisure pursuits and so forth, and developing relationships and things of this nature. So not only are we interested in people staying sober, but we're interested in quality of life and health and well-being. So and all of these different areas are important for that. But it's no mystery, and of course I had to get honest, but I was able to see how all of those different areas of my life were affected from alcohol use. Okay, anything else that you can think of as far as symptoms? So that's good.
Yeah, and you bring up some very important points, about psychosocial things that people can see that you may not necessarily be able to see. But the bio piece, okay, which we cannot overlook. In some cases, nobody will see this particular behavior, so it would behoove you to know some of the biological signs, and those are tolerance. If a tolerance is manifested by the need to consume more of the substance, or that amount tends to have a diminished effect, which would suggest I need more of it. That suggests that there is a tolerance, okay, which is a biological phenomenon that actually happens within the body. Another one is withdrawal. Once the substance has ceased for 24 to 48 hours, there may be physical manifestations of irritability. Someone may even have more severe symptoms of withdrawal, such as shakes. Now, not everybody will experience that, but those are physiological signs that are indicative of, a substance use disorder. And any one of those 11, okay, not everybody will display all the 11. Okay, so any 2 or more would meet criteria for a substance use disorder.
All right. Now, once folks have identified the different signs and symptoms, behaviors, if they believe that they have a problem, what are some different treatment options that folks can reach out to?
Yeah. Now that's a great question, because I think it's also important to understand something that you just mentioned, that not everybody needs an intensive level of care. Okay, for example, if a person realizes what's going on, and if they can break through that denial, and accept what's really going on in terms of the reality of the relationship with the substance, then one may seek recovery through supportive networks and other things that would help facilitate lifestyle change. On the other hand, someone who may not necessarily accept the reality, if someone needs just a little bit more structure and more help to make lifestyle changes, then the recommendation may mean an intensive level of care, which could be inpatient, or could be an intensive level of outpatient treatment setting. Anything that provides the structure to help the person make lifestyle changes.
And then sometimes folks have a concern about money related to treatments. There are back in Kentucky, where I'm from, there are state monies for folks who. So there are organizations that people can go to within your local community that can offer you free inpatient. So if you have a medical condition or a health condition, something to that effect, or you have very little support, family support and friend support and so forth, or you are excessively craving or in withdrawal or something like that, please, go to your local ER or local hospital, and they can refer you to a local substance abuse facility that can give you that level of care if you need it. And then a lot of times those places will have, usually they do, in my experience anyway, they'll have an outpatient program attached to that same building that you can get involved in as well. And then your doctor can talk to you about different medications that are available for folks these days to help cravings and help withdrawals and things like that. And then again, you already mentioned the support groups, the community support groups, so AA and NA, those are great references and tools that people use. And some people use those tools their entire lifetime. They're a great, you build great relationships and friends. And okay. So other than that, different treatment options. Oh, and one of the things too is that I was thinking while you were speaking, the different, of course we already mentioned, I mentioned the mental health piece. So sometimes folks need that inpatient level of care if they have secondary complications, secondary problems, and your doctor can talk to you about those and make those recommendations to you, because sometimes people just aren't safe to try to withdraw on their own or manage their early recovery on their own without professional assistance. So, whether it's a mental health counselor or a medical professional, those folks can guide you and keep you safe. That's the main thing. Is we want people to get sober, but we want people to be safe and healthy.
Yeah, and if I may, real quick, that's a real good point, because a lot of people don't know this, but withdrawal from alcohol is far more severe, okay, than withdrawal from other substances. Okay, so medically management of withdrawal in order to ensure that the individual is going to be able to stay sober in a healthy way is very important.
Okay, thank you. So some of the tools that we've used today, the National Institute of Health has some great references. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism is under the National Institute of Health, as well as the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And those are listed behind us. There's the survey, and of course AA and NA. We would encourage folks to use any or all of those resources, and those will be listed on the blog. And I can't speak to this enough, and I want to just say that we appreciate the viewer tuning in and listening, and hopefully you heard something that was meaningful to you. And I know in my experience working with people in early recovery, it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of courage to move away from old habits and routines. And as an OT, one of the things I've learned over the years is the value of just moving forward and just engaging in life and occupation in general. And that's not just work, that's just that's relationships and paying my bills and having meaningful connections with my family and my nieces and nephews and having a meaningful career, and all of these things have contributed to my overall health and well-being, but certainly contributed to my sobriety. And that's part of what this is all about, just to get people moving forward and get people engaged in life. And the first step in that process is to put the plug in the jug, so to speak, or to put the other substance down. And our goal is to help you see what those symptoms might look like, and then how to seek treatment and where to go for treatment. And then once you get that taken care of, then you can move forward with your life, as we all do. We enjoy our lives, and we work and we play and we do all of those enjoyable things, and those things are a lot more enjoyable, and quite frankly they're possible without the use of substances. So hopefully you got some information that you can use today. You can offer your feedback on the blog, and thank you very much for tuning in.